Hey, what's up my fellow reefers, Fragbox TV, and today I want to talk to you about moving an aquarium. Okay, so this little 5.5 gallon nano reef right here, if you guys hadn't followed the series, this was our setting up the cheapest possible nano reef tank that we could build. And now that we're at the end of the series, we're going to take the thing down, and that's what gave me the idea for this video, is moving an aquarium, because we get that question a lot of times from our customers. It's very common. People change houses or locations, or maybe you want to go with a bigger tank, and inevitably these things are going to move because nothing is forever. Often you outgrow the tank. We see people upgrade tanks all the time. They start with something small and then they want to go a little bit bigger as the corals grow or as they outgrow the tank. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Step one for moving a saltwater reef tank is don't. So I know that a lot of people do move them, and I'm going to get a lot of people in the comments telling me how they moved hundreds of gallons of reef tanks with no problems and everything survived. But just here in the store, we have a tremendous amount of traffic and reefers that come through, and something that we do hear very often, because we always ask, how are you doing? How's the tank doing? And very common thing that we hear here in the store is, I moved and everything died. And it's very upsetting, but it happens quite often. I think for every person that does a successful tank move, there's probably 3 that have a tank move that doesn't go according to plan. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that, and maybe you can comment below if you've had sort of, you know, not the best experience and what you could have learned, so that if someone's thinking about moving, they can, you know, maybe learn something from your mistakes. I've done it before. I've actually moved a store, and that was not fun, and I planned it out for months and it went horribly, and I lost a tremendous amount of stuff, even with careful planning, even with taking my time. So if you can avoid moving it, you know, don't move it. I always tell people, just sell it. Just get rid of everything. Maybe keep your favorite fish or coral if you can with a friend in the hobby, or ask your local fish store to hang on to it. Sell everything and then just start fresh. Start from new. If that's not possible to do that, or you're really attached to the aquarium and you want to move it, just start with a good game plan, and you're going to need a lot of buckets. So anything over 30 gallons gets quite tricky because it's a lot of water to move. This is going to be quite easy. If I wanted to move it, it's only 5.5 gallons. There's not a lot going on in it. I would take a 5-gallon bucket of salt, or something. You can grab a 5-gallon bucket from your Home Depot or whatever is close by, and literally drain the tank. Take the rocks, take the corals, throw them in the tank, and then take out all the equipment, and then do that in reverse. So move the aquarium, set the equipment back up, add the rock, and then add the water back into the tank. And I think where a lot of people go wrong, or what at least what I see, is when the biggest problem or the biggest trick when moving aquarium is this right here, is the sand, especially with older tanks. So this is a much newer one. It's only 8 weeks. It would be fairly easy to move. We can move it without trouble. Dylan just distracted me from the video, sorry. So along with being coral nuts, we're also car nuts, a lot of us that work here, and this is kind of cool. This is the new Land Rover Defender. Sorry, that's my sidetrack for the day. Not coral related at all. I just had to show you, because we're mostly into cars here as our coral heads. So what I was saying was, before my ADHD kicked in, the sand in the aquarium can hold a lot of good and beneficial bacteria, but on older tanks it traps a lot of detritus, a lot of organics that have been sitting there for years, and when people go and try and move the sand, it's like releasing this bomb of organics, and that can quickly crash a system and make it very difficult to move. So if you're going to move a larger tank, or any tank, and this, you know, the tank's older, I would say leave the sand behind. So go ahead and drain as much as you can. Maybe you're going to need, you know, 10 of these buckets or whatever you need, and leave the sand behind, and try and use as much water as possible, because these systems do not like to move. So you're making a very drastic change by moving it, and you want to make the least amount of changes possible. So in terms of water chemistry, you don't want to do like a 50 or 40% water change. You want to just try and move as much as that's already there. You want to try and keep the rock wet the entire time, because that's your, basically the filter of your aquarium is the live rock. So you don't want to have die off, and when you expose the rock to air, you're going to lose some of that bacteria, and then you're going to have an ammonia spike, and then you're going to cycle the tank, which is really bad because ammonia is very harmful to fish and corals, even in smaller amounts. So you don't want to cycle the tank by moving it. You want to try and keep everything in here wet. So if you can leave the sand, I would say leave it, set up your new tank, and then set it up without sand. It's going to look not so hot, but you can slowly add sand to the new aquarium, a cup or two a week at a time, until you build up that sand bed. And I find when you do that, you run into a lot less issues. This is the advice we give a lot of people in the store, and it seems to work. It's what I do when I have to move an aquarium. But if you can set it up somewhere else in the house without moving it, that's the best thing, really. Another tip to moving your aquarium, if you're going to do it, is get a hand. Hi Tia. Get some help. A fellow reefer, someone in your family. If a larger tank, it can be physically demanding to move that much water. It'll just help it go that much smoother. But if you're setting it up in, let's say you're staying in the same house or condo, wherever you are, I always tell people, if it's not going in the exact same spot, try and set up your new tank. So let's say this is your existing tank and you want to go bigger, you're going to set up your new one over here. Try and set up your new one and get it up and running and cycled, and then transfer the stuff over. That's obviously not possible in every case, like if you're moving houses, but if you're able to do it that way, set up the new one completely, fill it up with new sand, new rock, new everything, cycle it, and then move over slowly the animals that are in the tank. But if you guys got any questions about moving tanks or need help or suggestions, you know, you can always hit us up. And please comment below your moving experiences, because I know some people do it flawlessly without losing anything. And other people, unfortunately, it's tragic and it's rushed and stuff doesn't go exactly as planned and they end up losing a lot. But either way, that's the end of this video, and I'm going to leave our contact info like I always do at the end. Feel free to hit us up. This is Fragbox TV. Thank you very much for watching.